Hey, what's up everybody, Nexel here. Today we are playing Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, and we are going to go over my strategy on how I defeated the last round of the Hades Paradox Cup, which involves fighting our boy Sephiroth here. So hopefully this is a strategy that will help some people get those 20 gems as well as the title. So we have a few things to unpack before we get started here. Let's start by reading the enemy description. So this one-winged angel counters when his HP drops below 70% and 30%. So that means quite a few things here. So the first thing is that his counterattack at 70% and 30% HP is actually not an attack designed to knock you out. It's designed to drop your strength below a point where you're only dealing 1 damage to him. So let's say we drop into below 70%, he attacks us with that counterattack, and now our strength is at like minus 15 general, minus 15 upright, minus 15 reverse. So it's meant to decrease your strength to a point where his defense is higher. And remember game mechanics, if the defense of the enemy is higher than the strength of the metal you're hitting it with, you're only dealing 1 damage. So that's the point of the counterattack. So that happens at both 70% and 30%. The next piece is that he absorbs power attacks. So that means if you're planning on using something like Supernova plus Era or Supernova plus Aced, you're either going to have to convert it to a different attribute, so either magic or speed using things like Blitzform Sora, VVB, Prime Kingdom Hearts 2 Yuffie to convert it, or you're going to have to put it in the wrong slot, which is what's going on with this Kingdom Hearts 3 Kairi here. So she is in the wrong slot, and again, she doesn't get the multiplier. If her strength is not high enough than the enemy's defense, we're only dealing 1 damage. So healing 1 damage is really not a big deal in the grand scheme of things. Lastly, he lowers your strength while he boosts his defense. So again, the counterattack lowers our strength. On his turn, he will boost his defense up back to plus 15 general defense, plus 15 upright defense, plus 15 reverse defense, plus 15 PSM defense. So the minute it hits his turn, you got to figure something out in order to get rid of those buffs again. So there's quite a few mechanics you can use to help overcome all of these problems. So the first thing, absorbing power attacks, again, you can change the attribute of the metal you want to use. So again, using things like Prime Kingdom Hearts 2 Yuffie, VVB, Blitzform Sora, that changes the attribute of a metal. And if your main attacker is something like Supernova plus Era, just on Sleeping Lion, for example, have this last slot be Blitzform Sora, have that pet slot be Supernova plus Era. The Blitzform Sora converts the Era to a speed metal, and then you are good to go. Another mechanic that you can use is overwrite. So for example, if we go to our equipment and let's pull up the Ava. So while he will lower your strength and increase his defense, if you use an overwrite metal like HD Ava EX Plus, it doesn't matter because you overwrite the buffs. So even if you're at minus 15 strength, because of the metal's effect where it says for 1 turn 7 strength, it just jumps you back up to 7, and then you use a Kairi A or something, you're good to go on buffs. So it works the same way with the defense debuffs. So even if he has plus 15 general defense, using something like Ava is going to drop it down to 7 regardless. So that's one way to get around that. And I don't know if I said this earlier because I've recorded this video quite a few times, but the point of the counterattack is to lower your strength. It is not to knock you out, and that plays a very important part because essentially after you get that strength lowered, you're not doing any more damage, or at least you shouldn't be doing a lot more damage. So let's go ahead and just show you all of these things in play, show you how it all works out. Alright, so this is just a typical beat 'em up kind of rotation Keyblade here. Alright, so as you can see, he absorbs power metal damage, and then he also starts with pretty much what is perfect defense. So what you can do is overwrite it with the Kairi for the first one, or use an overwrite metal. Either of the two strategies works. Again, because Kairi is on the wrong slot, this is only going to heal 1 HP for him, which is nothing. And then we're looking to see when his HP drops below around 2.1 million, I think is actually the number. So we just keep attacking him until he gets below that 70% threshold. And then he counterattacks us. Now keep in mind, this counterattack, again, it's not designed to knock you out. Especially if you have like super high amounts of HP, and if you activate like a Kyrie B and you have like defense buffs, things like that. So it's not designed to knock you out, but if you look at our strength buffs, it dropped it down. It dropped it down so that we have -15 general, upright, and reverse strength, and then -13 power, speed, magic. So after this, essentially we're really not doing a lot of extra damage. This one should be doing some damage because we just have a massive amount of upright metal buffs. So he attacks us, and look at that. His defense just jumped back up to perfect defense. We don't have another Kyrie to overwrite it, so that's why I'd say you can use an overwrite metal in that first slot to get over that particular problem, and you proceed to bash him. Keep in mind, though, that because of all this, you're gonna need enough damage between 100% to 70%, 70% to 30%, and then 30% to 0%, because that's effectively your HP recovery and your second chance. So you have to pretty much do it within 3 turns, even though the condition says complete without having to continue, because he has a lot of defense and he has a lot of strength. And I haven't tried it yet, but I don't think it's able to be turtled. Like, I stopped being able to turtle this Hades Cup at around round 14, so I don't think it could be turtled. I'd have to kind of play around with it a little bit first, but that's a bunch of stuff just to keep in mind. So here was my strategy that I used to take care of this guy. So one thing that I wanted you to note, and I should have done this earlier, but when he uses his counterattack, he does not jump his defense back up to perfect, so it stays low even with his counterattack. It's just on his turn when he uses that single sword strike attack that he's gonna boost his defense back up. So my strategy effectively was this. So the way this strategy works is that Pirate Form Sora is going to decrease our defense so much so that the counterattack actually knocks us out. So that is the first part of this strategy, is to lower our defense enough so that the counterattack knocks us out, and we get to use recovery buffing. Because remember that when we get knocked out in the middle of our own turn, we come back with all the buffs that we were knocked out with. So we're going to keep all the upright metal strength that we inherited, everything along the way. The next part is to use a stained glass metal, and again, this is to overwrite his defense and overwrite our strength so that we are able to use the Kyrie A in the next slot in order to recover essentially all of our buffs and to maintain his low debuffs. So again, this is my Kyrie A without extra attack. Now that you're able to purchase traits, I would honestly think a lot of people would have Kyrie A with extra attack, but if you don't want to shell out the 5,000 jewels, this is a strategy that doesn't use that. So the whole point of the rest of the setup, which is going to be, let's see, this here. So the Kyrie B, the Aqua, the Angelic Amber, and the Ultimate Form Sora, the whole point of those is to do damage. Because remember, the way that it works is that once we drop him below 70%, he's going to counterattack us. And then when we drop him below 30%, he's going to counterattack us. So we have to be able to clear this quest effectively within 3 turns. Alright, so let's go ahead, see the strategy in play, and then it'll all make sense. Alright, so we hop in here, and again, he's got perfect defensive buffs. So we're going to use our Pirate Form Sora. That drains all of our gauges, but now we are at minus all the defense, essentially. We have no defense. Then we cast the Stained Glass, which has a 0 gauge cost, so we should be able to proc it. That overwrites our strength buffs and overwrites his defense buffs. So now, even though he was at plus 15 general defense, because of the overwrite metal and how it works, he's at -7 now. Then we activate the Kyrie, and that essentially makes our setup ready for magic damage. So then after this point, we activate the Kyrie B. Really, it's just to have that plus 5,000 upright metal strength, and then we just start attacking the guy. So once we drop him below a certain amount, he counterattacks us. And again, the counterattack, which was not originally designed to knock us out, now knocks us out because we have a low enough defense. So then we just run it all over again. Attack there, activate the Stained Glass to restore gauges as well as overwrite buffs and debuffs. Activate the Kyrie A to heal our HP and round out our buffs again and restore gauges. And I forgot to mention this earlier. Double check in the corner, we kept all our buffs from the previous one, from the previous turn, because we got knocked out in the middle of our own turn. And again, I call it recovery buffing. If you haven't seen the video, definitely go ahead and check that out. I'll try to link it in the description below if I remember to. Alright, so again, we just got to beat him up, drop him below 30% with this setup, because if we don't, then we can run into some problems with not completing it within 3 turns. Alright, we get knocked out again, and then we just round it out. So this was the strategy that I used to defeat Sephiroth. Again, don't try and use power metals for the most part unless you can either convert their damage into a different attribute, or if you can put it in the wrong slot and just use it for the buffs. But that's my strategy for defeating the Sephiroth. Hopefully this helps someone out there get those gems and get that title. And as always, if there are any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to drop them down in the comments below. I'd be happy to answer when I have the time. In case you wanted a little bit more help from different people, go ahead and join the Discord. We have a specific tab for quest help where you can post your medals, post your keyblades, and then people would be able to help you out by looking at your setups. And that's all for this video. As always, everyone, until next time, take it easy.